Let's talk about it, Cowboys Nation. Because some things just need to be said loud and clear. There's a difference between critique and sabotage, and what we're seeing lately from certain voices in the media is starting to feel a whole lot like the latter. Clarence Hill has once again taken it upon himself to turn what should be a moment of confidence for this team into another excuse to throw shade, stir panic, and fan the flames of negativity around the Cowboys organization. And at this point, it's not just tired, it's toxic. It all started when Jerry Jones, speaking to 105.3 The Fan, praised defensive tackle Kenny Clark, calling him one of the top-graded defenders on the Cowboys roster and expressing pride in having made the trade to bring him in. Straightforward, right? A team owner giving props to a player who's been putting in solid work. But somehow, someway, Clarence Hill found a way to twist that into a problem. He tweeted that it was unfair to Kenny Clark for Jerry to paint him as Reggie White or Ndamukong Suh, as if a compliment suddenly becomes an insult just because it comes from Jerry Jones. Come on now. That take is so backwards it's offensive. First of all, Jerry never said Kenny Clark was Reggie White or Ndamukong Suh. He said the team has gotten their money's worth, that Clark is grading out as one of the best defenders on the team. And let's be real, based on how the rest of this defense has played lately, that's not even a wild take. Kenny's holding it down in the trenches, doing the dirty work at the nose tackle spot, and he's among the top 3 or 4 in sacks on the entire defense. That matters. That deserves acknowledgement. But instead of celebrating that, Clarence decided to throw shade, using one player's success as a backhanded slap at the front office. It's not about Clark. It's about Jerry. Again, because every storyline this man pushes seems to circle back to one thing: his personal vendetta against Jerry Jones. And honestly, that's where a lot of fans are starting to draw the line. You don't have to love the owner to love the team. But don't act like every single thing Jerry does is some calculated attack on the locker room or the culture or whoever's feelings get bruised that week. And let's not forget, this is the same Clarence Hill who tried to blow up the Micah Parsons situation not long ago, trying to turn fans against the team over injury concerns. Same tactics, same energy, always looking for a reason to light the match and walk away. This ain't journalism. This is agenda pushing. This is chaos disguised as commentary. And it's exhausting. Look, the Cowboys lost a game. Nobody's ducking that. But the Eagles lost too. The Commanders lost too. We're still in the exact same spot in the division as we were the week before. So all the screaming, the sky is falling nonsense, the takes about the season being over or the front office being clueless, it's all noise. Emotional overreaction with no real basis in fact. And the fans, man, some of y'all are letting yourselves get played. Every time someone with a blue check or a media credential throws out some hot take about Jerry or Dak or trading away half the roster, y'all jump on it like it's gospel. Meanwhile, the real football conversations, the matchups, the schemes, the adjustments, those get drowned out. That's how the narrative gets hijacked. That's how the fan base ends up spending an entire week arguing about something that's never even been mentioned in the front office. Like the whole idea that the Cowboys should trade George Pickens. Where did that even come from? There's been zero indication that the team wants to move on from him. He's producing. He's fitting into the system. Jerry himself went on record saying the coaches love the guy. He's a positive presence in the locker room and on the field. But because some talking head decided to throw it out there as a what if, now we've got fans genuinely debating whether or not it's time to move on from one of the team's most promising weapons. That's the danger of speculation without foundation. That's the problem when sports talk turns into fantasy booking with no accountability. And yes, sports media is about discussion. It's about opinion. But at some point, it also has to be grounded in reality. Not every take is a good take just because it sounds spicy. Not every what if deserves airtime. Because every minute spent on made-up drama is a minute not spent breaking down what's actually happening on the field. Now, back to the trade talk, because Jerry did say the team is open for business. That's a real conversation. He mentioned that they're looking at both sides of the ball, defense especially, but maybe even the running back spot. That's something fans should absolutely be tuned into. There are real names being floated out there. Guys like Cameron Jordan, Trey Hendrickson, even a Tariq Woolen in the secondary. Positions of need. Impact players. That's worth discussing. What's not worth discussing? Trying to package up Kenny Clark or George Pickens in some imaginary blockbuster because someone on Twitter thinks it'd be fun. That's not how team building works. That's not how rosters are managed. And that's certainly not how you create stability on a team trying to make a deep postseason run. And for the love of all things blue and silver, can we please stop acting like every compliment Jerry gives a player is some sort of PR spin or manipulation? If he praises Kenny Clark, it's because Clark has earned it. If he speaks highly of Pickens, it's because the coaching staff backs it up. If he says the team is exploring trade options, it's because they actually are. Sometimes things really are just what they seem. No need for conspiracy theories. And for those in the media who can't talk Cowboys football without dragging social or political narratives into every segment, y'all gotta chill. Football is already complicated enough. We got injuries, depth charts, game plans, execution issues. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about Eberflus and whether this defense can get back on track. Let's talk about whether the secondary can hold up or if the linebackers need reinforcements. Let's break down the tape, not the owner's political stance or a writer's personal crusade. Because here's the truth. No matter what you think of Jerry Jones, this team still has to play on Sundays. This team still has to perform. And right now, if there's any hope of salvaging the season and making a real run, everyone needs to lock in. That includes the fans. That includes the media. That includes the players and coaches. All that other noise. It's just a distraction. And trust me, no one's saying you can't criticize. No one's saying you have to agree with every move the front office makes. But if the only time you ever speak up is when there's a chance to throw dirt, then maybe it's not about football anymore. Maybe it's just about ego. Maybe it's just about clicks. And if that's the case, then don't pretend like you're speaking for the fans. Because the real ones, the real fans, they're tired of the drama. They just want football. So let's keep going, because there's still a lot to unpack here. Let's talk trades. Let's talk roster construction. And let's talk about the reality of this Cowboys team heading into the heart of the season. Jerry said it himself. The Cowboys are open for business. Eyes wide open, looking for ways to help the defense, and maybe even exploring offensive upgrades too. And let me tell you right now, that's not just lip service. That's the type of comment that sets the tone for what could be a very active few weeks. The defense has been good in moments, but inconsistent overall. And with the injuries we've dealt with, especially in the secondary, there's a real argument to be made that Dallas needs to go out and get another piece. Someone that can stabilize the back end or add punch to the middle of the field. A guy like Tariq Woolen makes a lot of sense, especially if you can get him without blowing up the draft capital. That's a young, athletic corner with real upside and starting experience. He's the type of guy that doesn't just patch a hole, he strengthens the future. Now if you want to look at veteran help, someone like Cameron Jordan would instantly bring leadership and pressure off the edge. But let's be honest here, edge rusher isn't the biggest need. The Cowboys already have talent there. The bigger need is linebacker. The bigger need is coverage in the middle of the field. That's where this defense has struggled, and that's where opponents have exposed us repeatedly. So instead of going after flashy names, the smart move is to target guys that can step in and help fix the structural issues. Devin Bush, for example, could be a sneaky pickup. Maybe not a superstar, but a player who fits what this team needs right now. And we have to talk about Motzi Smith. Let's stop sugarcoating it. The experiment might be over. He was inactive again against the Panthers, and at this point, it's fair to ask if the front office and coaching staff are just ready to move on. And that's okay. Not every pick hits. Not every player develops the way you expect. But the smart move now is to use whatever value he still has in a trade. Package him with a mid-round pick if you have to. Sweeten the deal to land a player who can actually contribute in December and January. That's what contenders do. They cut their losses, they stay aggressive, and they keep building. This is where being realistic matters. Fans love potential. We all do. But potential doesn't help you in playoff games. Production does. And right now, Motzi's not producing. So rather than holding on to the hope that something clicks, it's time to be proactive. If he's not in the rotation, he's not helping you. Move on. Make the deal, and get someone who can play now. And since Jerry opened the door for offensive upgrades, let's not ignore the running back conversation either. That part of the offense has lacked the explosiveness it once had. We've seen flashes, sure, but nothing consistent. So if someone like Breece Hall or Alvin Kamara actually becomes available, and the price is right, why not pick up the phone? Why not bring in a dynamic runner who can give this offense another dimension? Because let's be honest, if you want to beat teams like San Francisco or Philadelphia in the playoffs, you're going to need more than just a decent running game. You're going to need weapons. You're going to need game changers. Now, all of this comes down to one thing. Will the front office pull the trigger? Will they stop talking about being aggressive and actually go make a move? Because this team is in position. The NFC is wide open beyond a couple of teams. The Cowboys have cap space. They have draft capital. They have a veteran quarterback playing solid football. This isn't a rebuild. This is a team that, with a few key additions, could make a run. But that only happens if the focus stays on football. And I mean real football, not these nonsense storylines about whether Jerry complimenting a player somehow means he's tone-deaf or insensitive or whatever narrative the media wants to push this week. That stuff does nothing but distract. It's not helping the team. It's not helping the fan base. And most importantly, it's not based in reality. Let me be clear about something else. Not everything is a political statement. Not everything is coded language. Sometimes a coach praises a player because he deserves it. Sometimes an owner talks about roster needs because they actually exist. It's not always that deep. And trying to turn every quote into a social issue or a historical reference just dilutes the actual football conversation. It's exhausting. And it's why so many fans are tuning out from mainstream media and turning to independent voices who actually watch the games, break down the film, and talk about what matters. If you want to criticize Jerry Jones for a bad contract or a draft miss, go ahead. That's fair game. But don't attack him for giving props to a player who's performed well. Don't act like that's somehow offensive or unfair. That's not journalism. That's just bias with a microphone. And when it comes to this coaching staff, it's time they get held accountable too. Everyone wants to scream about Jerry every time something goes wrong. But let's not forget that this offseason, the coaching staff had more input than they've had in years. They were involved in the roster decisions. They were behind the development plans. They were the ones pushing for certain players to get more time, more snaps, more responsibility. So now that the season is in full swing, the spotlight needs to shift. We need to start asking why certain players haven't developed, why certain schemes aren't working, why adjustments are late or non-existent. That's coaching. That's execution. That's not Jerry. And if you really want to look at the big picture, ask yourself why this team still struggles with the same problems year after year. That's not about one man at the top. That's about culture. That's about accountability. And that's about whether or not this coaching staff can fix what's broken before the window closes again. Before we roll on, subscribe to Cowboys Wire News, drop a like, and turn on the bell. Your support keeps the Dallas Cowboys updates coming. Tell us what you think in the comments. In what could be one of the most shocking moves in NFL history, whispers around the league suggest that Patrick Mahomes, the Kansas City Chiefs superstar quarterback, is set to leave the team that has defined his career. According to sources close to the situation, Mahomes has reportedly accepted a lucrative offer from the Dallas Cowboys, sending shockwaves through the NFL world and leaving fans of the Chiefs scrambling to comprehend the potential fallout. The rumor mill has been churning for weeks, fueled by cryptic social media posts and insider hints, but nothing prepared the league for this bombshell. Mahomes, 28, who has led the Chiefs to multiple playoff appearances and a Super Bowl victory, has long been regarded as the face of Kansas City football. His potential departure raises immediate questions about the franchise's future and the seismic shifts that could occur in the NFC East. While details of the Cowboys' alleged proposal remain scarce, industry insiders claim it includes a record-breaking contract, combining massive guaranteed money with performance incentives designed to cement Mahomes as the centerpiece of Dallas' offensive strategy. Speculation is rampant that the Cowboys see this as the ultimate statement move, a chance to pair their storied brand with arguably the most electrifying quarterback in the game today. Reaction among fans has been immediate and fiery. Social media platforms are ablaze with a mix of disbelief, outrage, and excitement. Chiefs supporters are mourning the possible loss of their franchise icon, while Cowboys fans are reveling in the tantalizing prospect of pairing their roster with a generational talent. Analysts are already debating the ripple effects, from draft strategies to salary cap maneuvers, wondering if this rumored deal could redefine the league's power balance. Of course, in true NFL fashion, nothing is officially confirmed. Agents, team representatives, and league officials have remained tight-lipped, only adding fuel to the fire. Yet, the intensity of the speculation suggests that if true, Mahomes' move to Dallas would be more than a headline. It would be a historic pivot point in professional football, potentially reshaping rivalries and redefining what it means to chase a Super Bowl ring. For now, the football world waits, eyes glued to the rumors swirling around one of the game's brightest stars. If Mahomes does indeed swap red and gold for silver and blue, the NFL landscape may never look the same again. That's a wrap from Cowboys Wire News. For breaking Cowboys updates, subscribe, drop a like, and turn on the bell. Tell us your take in the comments.